How YouTube became a force for free speech in South Korea. Modesty is nothing presenter Kim Ou-joon and the reporter Yu Millie talk about the daily news on March 8, 2023. Seoul CNN, YouTube's the most watched daily live program in South Korea might surprise you. It is not about K-pop, it is not a K-drama, and has nothing to do with Blackpink. It is provocative current affairs talk show called Gum Gumson Modesty is Nothing, fronted by the irrelevant host Kim Ou-joon, whose lack of deference to authority is making a waves in a country where traditional media has the reputation for respectable coverage. Kim's style is reminiscent of a US late night chat show host, openly partisan. He says his aim is to counterbalance what he sees as a bias towards the conservative government with a liberal voice. Conservative media is actively making biases the report, and I think they can do that based on their political stance, Kim said to CNN. The problem here is that they are pretending to be fair, hiding behind the mask of fairness. Kim's brash style stands out all the more given recently raised concerns by the US Department of State that South Korean officials are using defamation lawsuit to restrict the freedom of expression. It highlights in the March Human Rights Report the case of broadcaster NBC, which is being sued by the Foreign Affairs Ministry for the history uh, for a story in which it claimed the South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol had been caught on a hot mic making less than complimentary remarks about U.S. lawmakers. The presidential office has criticized the State Department report for a lack of accuracy, claiming it had simply collected and announced the claims of civic groups or media report. Kim Ou-joon, the presenter and the creator of the YouTube show Modesty is Nothing in his studio in Seoul. But taking on the conservative administration doesn't faze Kim, who has been sued for defamation on several occasions. Kim's critics, meanwhile, they say his taste for controversy goes only one way, accusing him of paying less attention to reports involved in the Liberal Democratic Party political influencers. Still, the show's reputation for daring to go where others fear to tread has done wonders for its viewing figures. Every morning at 7:05 a.m., about 160,000 people tune in to hear Kim's takes on the biggest issues of the day. Industry observers say the program's popularity, it has more than 1 million subscribers and can rake in donations of 90 million won, $70,000 a day, reflecting the changing media landscape. Increasingly, they say current affairs programs are tuning to YouTube to disseminate their content, drawn both by large audiences and the perception that the online arena grants greater space for freedom of expression. Modest is Nothing, for instance, is the reincarnation of a radio show called The News Factory that was taken off air after a row with the government. YouTube has the high penetration in South Korea, according to stage, Statista. Statista. A market and consumer data statistics site, there were over 46 million YouTube users in South Korea as of January this year, more than 90% of the population, compared to over 70% in the United States. Most traditional media outlets now run their own YouTube channels, as do an increasing number of smaller independent companies or of all political persuasions like the right-wing Tube Shin 1.46 million subscriber and the left-wing News Tapa over 1 million. YouTube's growing influence was demonstrated in the run-up to last year's general election, when Yoon, then a candidate for the People Power Party, saw his popularity for following a stumbling performance in the Christmas Day YouTube interview with 3 Pro TV. Before the show, he had been neck and neck with opponent Lee Jae-myung from the then ruling Democratic Party of Korea. Soon after, a Gallup survey showed him trailing by around 8 percentage point. The clout of both right and left wing channels has also been shown in recent movement. Right wing channels fueled rallies in support of the former President Park Geun-hye after she was impeached in 2017 over a corruption scandal. They also backed the protest outside the retirement home of her liberal successor Moon Jae-in. Left-wing channels backed counter rallies outside the current President Yoon's home. Last year, the former leader of Yoon's party hit out at what he said was the evil influence of YouTube channels. The supporters of South Korea's former President Park Geun-hye hold a rally demanding her release outside the Seoul Central District Court in Seoul on April 6, 2018. Platform for free speech. YouTube channels are seen as offering a space for free speech that is all the more important given the concerns voiced by the U.S. State Department. Jong Jong-hee, a professor of media at Seoul's Hanyang University, said most traditional outlets avoided criticizing the government, partly because of their own right wing leanings, but also because they feared being sued. After President Yoon Suk Yeol came to power, there had been many cases where the presidential office filed complaints to the media, Jung said. The fear of being targeted, whether you are on the same side or not, is significant, Jung said. Over time, the lack of critical coverage meant citizens had lost confidence in traditional media and tuned to the internet instead, said Lee Jun-un, a professor in communication at Seoul National University. We can't say that traditional newspapers and broadcast media have been completely abandoned, but more and more citizens are dissatisfied with them and are seeking information, interpretation, and expression in internet media, Lee said. CNN asked the presidential office to comment on its recent defamation lawsuit, but it has not yet received a reply. Modest is Nothing presenter Kim Ou-joon and reporter Yu Millie talk about the daily news on March 8, 2023. News Factory closed down. Dynamic. It's a dynamic that's not lost on Kim. His previous show, a publicly funded News Factory program, had for years been Seoul's top-rated radio program and made him one of the country's highest-paid presenters. Debuting in 2016 on TBS in a 2 hour slot Monday to Friday. Each format was simple, featuring Kim's comment on the topic of the day and the news roundup, followed by segments featuring newsmakers from politicians and professors to journalists, artists, and scientists. Each no-holds-barred approach to news analysis and each live interviews broke the mold in South Korean media and made it a go-to show for politicals, said Jung Hee, a media professor at Hanyang University. Previously, politicians didn't appear on radio shows and morning radio shows, mostly used to summarize the news from the night before and deliver information such as real-time traffic update, Chung said. But each oppositional style angered the conservatives, as did each coverage of scandals surrounding former President Park. When a conservative administration returned to power in 2022 following a stint by leader Moon Jae-in, under whom the show enjoyed the heyday, its days were numbered. Soon after, the conservative city Council announced it planned to cut the TBS's budget in a move widely seen as reflecting its displeasure with the news factory. While Seoul's mayor Oh Se-hoon denied the link in February, he criticized the show being one-sided and the network TBS for crossing the line that public broadcasting cannot possibly cross. In any country, people can never be patient when public broadcasting is biased and in favor of the particular political party, was said. The production team of Modesty is Nothing works on a live show in its Seoul studio on March 13, 2023. For and Rise, Kim took a news factory off air in December. The next month, he launched The Modesty is Nothing. The only real differences between the shows are the name and medium. The format is the same, and even the studio is a replica, though it has now grown bigger, in line with Kim's ambitions. Within a week, it had surpassed a million subscribers. It has since consistently ranked top in terms of real time daily viewership in YouTube in South Korea. The Professor Jung, its success that demonstrates voices cannot be silenced. Kim, meanwhile, hopes to build a show with as much recognition as any on traditional media. I will create a type of press that has not yet existed on YouTube, Kim said. This is the declaration that I will show that canceling the show for a political reason was wrong.